We are rolling. So shake that little bottle and let's go with the predictions. We are rolling.
All right. Yes, indeed. It is once again time for another episode of the Kanika Sports Show, everybody. I am your host, Kenny, and I am joined on this Wednesday pre-baseball season special episode by my lovely co-host. She is the one, the only, producer Nika, everybody.
Thanks. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition on Wednesday because we normally don't come on. And I hope everybody has a great Wednesday. And we do have a special topic. We're going to make predictions for tomorrow's games and not tomorrow, for the season, I would say.
Well, I just want to, I don't want to date this episode because this is probably not even going to be posted until tomorrow morning. It just happens to be Wednesday when we're recording this because, well, to be honest, I was seeing everyone and their mother this morning on social media post their predictions for the 2025 baseball season. And I decided, I'm going to put the phone away, put it in the vault for now, and I'm not going to look at this until later. Although we are going to talk about a certain prediction that I did happen to see this morning that I was absolutely displeased about. Spoiler alert. Anyways, but I wanted us to have a chance to give our predictions, I decided. So That's why we're here today. And hopefully you'll have a chance to put ears to this before the season starts tomorrow because I have a lot to say about what's going to happen this year. Not too much to say because this is going to be a little shorter episode. We don't have a lot going on.
Okay.
We're just going to be reacting to a prediction. We're going to be making our own predictions for the 2025 season. And, that's really about it. But I do have one prediction I do want to make right off the bat, Nika, and that is I am predicting that there's not going to be a whole hell of a lot of offensive scoring on tomorrow's games on opening day.
Why you say that?
Well, you just look at the pitching matchups. I mean, everybody's ace is going. We're kind of coming out of spring training, and I feel like, the pitchers have been kind of ramping up on a more steady schedule based on what I've seen. And now the position players are going to get their turn to become everyday players now and start to report for work every day. And it's going to be the grind of the regular season, the 162. I hope they never change it. I've always heard them say, like, they got to shorten the season and we got to start the playoffs earlier. And I would hate it, man. I feel like you cannot compare eras unless you play the same amount of games. And
if it's not broken, why change it?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first week of April to the last week of September. And we don't need more days off. We need better conditioning and probably better eating and better nutrition because I didn't hear anyone back in 1984 complaining about 162 games. I just didn't.
Yeah. It's a good point. And now we see the epidemics with the injuries and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's all tied to most likely what you eat. So,
all right. Well, that was my first prediction of the show and my first prediction, I guess, of 2025, right, Nika?
All right.
All right. Well, mark it on the books, everybody. Not a lot of offense on opening day. So watch, there'll be like 100 runs scored tomorrow or something like some record number, and I'll be totally wrong right out of the gate. Well, we'll be here on Friday to talk about it, right, my love?
Yep.
All right. Okay. Well, before we get into any predictive business on this episode, I wanted to take a moment and do a special call-up, Nika.
Oh, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
Did you hear what I said? I mean, I'm going to the show.
So you thought you might like to go to the show.
What you need is a curveball, huh? In the show, everybody can hit a fastball.
Mama, let me go to the show.
Yeah, I was in the show. I was in the show for 21 days once.
21 greatest days of my life.
I've got to let it go.
You don't know shit, all right? You want to make it to the show, you'll listen to me.
And just enjoy the show.
Who is coming to the show?
Well, it's someone we've been talking about the last few episodes as we build up to the season, but it has become Facebook official, everybody. Look, kind of quite literally, as the Astros made a huge video presentation out of the call-up of Cam Smith, everybody. And this is kind of a special call-up because Cam Smith has to date only played 32 games in the minor leagues and was drafted just last year by the Chicago Cubs, everybody.
Wow. And he's already making a team. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. And if you notice what I said there, he is not debuting for those Chicago Cubs. He is debuting for the Houston Astros, everybody, because he was traded in the offseason for Kyle Tucker.
Oh, so that was the big trade.
He was the biggest piece of that trade, hands down.
Do you think the Cubs going to regret that move?
Well, we'll talk about that in 1 second. But before we do, I really just wanted to take a quick moment and highlight the fact that Cam Smith is one of these players that we were talking about on the last episode that really forced his team's hand here. He played 15 games this spring training. He had 43 plate appearances, 38 at-bats, 13 hits. That's a .342 batting average. He had 4 home runs, 11 RBIs, and 5 walks, 11 strikeouts. They're probably going to want to keep an eye on that. But he is just 22 years of age, and we were talking this morning on our walk. He is only literally like 7 weeks older than Jackson Merrill on our San Diego Padres, everybody.
Well, there's also a comparison of Smith to Alec Bohm from the Phillies. When he was first drafted.
Interesting. Well, I don't know much about Cam Smith's full history or anything, but we both took a look at him during spring training, and I know you were impressed, Nika.
Right, when I saw him for the first time on the Astros teams, I was like, holy shit, this guy's going to go far. That was my initial thought.
And then I don't even know if you knew exactly who he was or like how like he fit into this whole pipeline with like the Cubs trade and everything like that. And
I only knew he was a prospect for the Astros. That was it.
And you were like, oh, he looks good.
Yeah.
Well, knowing now what we know, I want to readdress what you brought up a second ago is, will the Cubs regret this trade? And you're going to hear my predictions later. And if you're a Cubs fan, you might want to just turn the podcast off now. I don't want to dissuade anyone from listening, but you're not going to be happy with what you hear. And I do know one thing. This trade is going to be looked at and compared all season long, especially if Cam Smith, stays in the show. I think it's too early to predict whether or not he will, quote unquote, keep this job that he's earned out of spring training. But we saw what happened with Jackson Merrill last year, and he just got better and better and better as the season went along. And the way Cam Smith has come out of spring training here, earning this job, and you saw the Astros teammates, they were clapping for him in that video. This is a big deal, and I think he's got the right support structure there, at least in Houston, to be successful.
What position is he going to play?
He's going to play right field. He's going to play where Kyle Tucker last year stood on that Houston soil.
Yeah, I think that might come back and bite the Cubs in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally getting 1 year of Kyle Tucker if you're a Cubs fan right now, because he has no long-term contract. He is this year's Juan Soto, sort of. But I don't honestly begrudge the Cubs for making this move, because you have to make moves to go for it. And Kyle Tucker is the legit star piece that the Cubs have, quote unquote, needed for a while right now. I just wish they would have opened up the wallet a little bit more and brought Bregman with them, because I don't have total faith that Matt Shaw is going to get the job done at third base for a championship level. I'm not going to say he's going to have a bad year or anything, but I think if you're counting on him to be last year's Jackson Merrill in the NL this year, I don't think he's that guy. I don't think he came out of spring training like scalding hot, like earning a job. Anyways, we'll see. This is a prediction show. This is not meant to offend people. It's just meant to put some predictions out there. But I have some more predictions to make probably about Cam Smith coming up later on the show. Maybe you do too. I don't know. But for now, welcome to the show, and good luck being compared to Kyle Tucker all season long, especially since you guys are going to be playing the same position.
I don't know if they're going to compare him all season long because he is a brand new kid on the block.
I think it's going to be, just to be clear here, because it's inevitably going to happen, especially if Cam Smith plays hot and Kyle Tucker does not. Like, Kyle Tucker had a very cold spring training.
Yes,
And
that could happen.
Cam Smith had a very hot spring training, and it'll be interesting if that carries over for like 2 weeks here. We watch a lot of Chicago sports radio here, even though we're in the desert. You know, I like to keep my home ties back home, and I do listen to a lot of it. And I know that if this continues, the Chicago sports fans are going to like jump off the bridge. I'm not going to say the cliff because there's no cliffs in Illinois, but there are bridges. And I'm just saying, man, they're going to be jumping off bridges over there in Wrigleyville or something because they're going to be like, oh my God, we just traded the future away for one season of a guy who's a complete bust. And
It wouldn't surprise me one bit if that happens.
Overreaction Mondays?
Overreaction Mondays or Wednesdays or whatever day it is. It will be Overreaction Friday if this happens on Thursday, tomorrow, for instance.
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh, if Cam Smith hits a home run tomorrow and Kyle Tucker doesn't, it's on. And I keep saying tomorrow, but if you're listening, it could be today because you are probably going to be listening to this on opening day.
It will be on. For sure.
But whenever you hear, it'll be so funny if this happens. And like I said, the cold spring training for Tucker and the hot spring training for Cam Smith, oh man, it could happen.
It could.
All right. Well, I did say that I saw something this morning that made me a little bit peeved, and I want to talk about it now. Nika, will you stop the presses for us, please?
Stop the press. Listen, I'm sorry about what I said. I was being an idiot.
Excellent example of infield journalistic investigative technique.
Therefore, your heinous comment will be stricken from the record.
I just happen to notice that our presses aren't running, which strikes me as rather odd since we are, after all, a newspaper.
All right. Yes, indeed. Well, we did have this article come across my Twitter this morning, and it was from the East Village Times, everybody. That is San Diego sporting news since 2015, just in case you were wondering. And it is something that I have come to follow and read, especially one James Clark. I want to give a shout out to James because he covers the Padres farm system so well and keeps me informed about what's going on with people like Ethan Salas and Leodalis DeVries and Tirso Ornelas and what's his name? Cash, right? Something. We have a pitcher named Cash in with a K, everybody, in the minor leagues.
Oh, like the Cash from FBI now.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Well, apologies to you, Cash, for not remembering your last name at the moment. Mayfield? Is
I
it
don't
Cash
remember.
Mayfield? Everybody. I'm going to Google that while I talk and correct myself. But the East Village Times got me a little bit upset this morning because they had quite a few of their reporters weigh in on the Padres season and give their predictions. And I couldn't help but look at it. And boy, oh boy, did I get angry reading this a little bit because it seems like for all the knowledge on the staff, there's a lot of things being overlooked with the Padres and the Padres team that I think is worth mentioning. And before we go one step further, Cash Mayfield is indeed the name of the pitcher I was looking for, left-hander in the Padres farm system.
Oh, he's a pitcher.
Yes,
Nice.
and he's 6'4", 200 pounds, born February 8th, 2005 in Oklahoma, everybody. Gotta love that southern heat from Oklahoma and Texas. Anyways, so back to the Padres in this article. This article was titled Predicting the Final Record of the 2025 San Diego Padres, and it was posted 22 hours ago from now, and it was actually posted by James Clark, it looks like. But James Clark didn't write the bulk of this article. Everybody kind of weighed in and wrote a little paragraph about the Padres, but like The one thing that stood out to me right away is the biggest win total I saw here for the Padres in this entire article was 89. So nobody, and there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 predictions, 10 reporters here weighing in. And not one of them had the Padres winning 90 games this year.
That's crazy.
After winning a record 93 games last year. Now, I want to get the elephant in the room out of the way right away, which is that I get it, guys. The Padres did not have the sexiest offseason, especially when compared with the Dodgers right over on the right north of you, a few hundred miles. Everything from the Dodgers is Blake Snell, Roki Sasaki, Conforto, even from the Giants. Like they shored up everything on their roster. They re-signed Tommy Edman. They re-signed Teoscar Hernandez, Kiki Hernandez. Even brother Clayton is coming back for one final ride or two with this group. This is all because of what Shohei Ohtani did, by the way, deferring $68 million every year, and he expects the Dodgers to spend that money.
Sure. That was the idea behind it.
It was the idea behind it, and so here we are. Anyways, I get that happened, but this is not doom and gloom for the Padres. They play 13 games against this team, the Dodgers.
Come on, man, I just been doing a little experimentation type thing.
And quite frankly, we just don't even know enough about the season at all, about how it's going to shake out. Like, so many things can happen, injuries. We don't know if the Dodgers are even going to make the playoffs. No offense. Like, I know it's all everyone expects them to, but
let's not anoint the team before the season starts.
We still have to go out there and play 162. And like, despite the fact that maybe the Padres are overmatched by this Dodger team right now, it doesn't mean that things are going to stay that way all season long. And it also doesn't mean that the Padres are a bad team compared to the rest of baseball. They're still spending in the top 10, I believe. Am I wrong about that? But they're still a top 10 spending team.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, breaking news.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
This bullet just handed to me.
And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
What's breaking, Nika?
Rafael Devers will be DH in the Red Sox.
Well, we're going to have to keep an eye on that situation this year because you talk, man, I want to watch how it affects him first. And I want to see how this works out for the Red Sox. We talked about Christian Campbell the other day, who is getting promoted for the Red Sox at second base, despite having a kind of lackluster spring training. He gets the call to the show, and we were just kind of questioning, why didn't they put Bregman at second base first and wait for Devers to make a couple errors or whatever that everyone says he's going to do? When you make a whole team better, sometimes it elevates everyone's play, including maybe even Rafael Devers at third base. So I just question, everyone coming in saying, well, if Bregman's a better option at third for the team, then, Devers should be willing to sit down. And, if everyone is an all-star, sure, I agree with that. But I want to remind people that Bregman was being shopped as this versatile free agent. He could play second base for you. He could play third base for you. He could play shortstop even, maybe. Who knows? But to just then say he signed with a place that has an awesome third baseman already. And I know his defense leaves a little to be desired from some people, but I still think if Bregman was playing second right now and Devers was playing third, it would elevate Devers, right?
Oh, for sure. This situation just screams shenanigans. And the Red Sox are paying Devers a lot of money to be just DHing.
100%.
A lot of money. Does that make other DH positions now more valuable?
I'm sure there's a lot of DHs out there that are going to be pointing now to Rafael Devers and being like, well, look what he's making. Yeah. And they're all going to say well, he signed that deal as a third baseman. And they're going to be like, I don't care.
He's making almost $30 million a year.
There's probably 29 other teams right now that are really pissed off at the Red Sox for doing this in a way because of what you just said. They have now made DHing a $30 million a year job. And I just don't think that you pay that much money for DHs.
And Ohtani is a DH.
Yeah, but he's a pitcher too. That's
I know.
totally you can't compare it.
I know.
Yeah,
Right.
it's don't go there.
I'm just saying he would have asked for more money as a DH now because of it.
True, but like look at Dave Martinez. He didn't even get signed in the offseason, right? From the Mets last year, the DH.
Yeah,
so,
he hasn't.
Okay, well, back to the Padres, please. It was and thank you, by the way. That was some breaking news right here on the Kanika Sports Show. So even if you are listening to this today or tomorrow, opening day, whatever day, you get a little bit of breaking news the way we got to experience it. So I hope you had a little fun with that. But back to the business at hand with this Padres article, because this is Stop the Presses. I want to remind everybody. I am unhappy with this article, and no Padres predictions for 90 wins this year. I think that's blasphemy, especially after last year, the way that they outperformed expectations. I want to remind people that last year's team was projected to finish 81 and 81 or 82 and 80. You had calls from people like Brian Kenny on MLB Network in April and May saying the Padres are sellers. What are they doing? Why are they going for it? Why are they being annoying? Basically. But seriously, they were calling for the Padres to sell early last year, and the same things were happening again kind of this year. There were calls for Michael King and or Dylan Cease to be traded this entire offseason for pieces back because the Padres had to shed payroll and all this stuff. And it turns out maybe some of that wasn't true. They even signed Nick Pivetta, surprisingly, kind of out of nowhere at the quarter end, I guess, of the free agency. And he came into spring training almost like right on time, but it was like right before spring training started. I don't know what is going on at the East Village Times, because I also want to remind them, that despite the fact that I know that winning 90 games is going to take a total team effort again, because it always takes a total team effort, that Mike Schilt has made the playoffs every year. He's been a full-time manager of a team in baseball so far. He's 4 for 4, 3 with the Cardinals and once with the Padres last year. And I just feel like he's not getting any credit. He's hardly getting even mentioned in this article, it seems like. And it's like, I don't know what game these guys are watching sometimes to be like, coaching matters so much at this level, maybe more than any level in sports.
I don't think they watch the game and base their
Well, they do. They watch a game.
No. I don't think they base their predictions based on their previous managerial data. They go with the whatever Fangraphs, Yahoo Sports spits it out.
Well, they're just looking at who the new players are and and judging it based on, like I said earlier, the kind of lack of sexiness of the Padres offseason in light of the other teams like the Dodgers and even the Diamondbacks, who signed Corbin Burns. I want to remind everybody. They lost Christian Walker to the Astros, and they picked up the Naylor. Josh. Is it Josh Naylor that plays first? Yeah. Bo Naylor plays catcher for the Guardians still. Anyways, I get that this is a tough ask here, but like, aren't we also expecting Jackson Merrill to get a little bit better? And aren't we also wanting Fernando?
Can you hear the drums, Fernando?
To play like an MVP for more than a couple seasons here while he enters his prime age of 26 to 34. Like,
of course we do.
So I guess I'm just having a hard time understanding this whole mentality here by these writers, and I just wonder if they've been like burned too many times. I'm here to tell you guys, I grew up a Cubs fan, and I'm a late convert to the Friar Faithful, but I feel like I got more faith than you guys right now. I want to call them out one at a time here. Nick Lee, he predicts an 85 and 77 record and a fringe NL wildcard team. Boo. Come on, Nick. 85 wins after 93 last year? James Clark, prediction 85 and 77. James, I love your analysis of the minor leagues, but again, 85 wins here. I don't like this. I even aggravating. No faith in Schilt. Will Eskridge, 87 and 75, getting warmer. Says NL wild card. So they make the playoffs. But Glenn Miller says we're back down to 85 and 77 again. And not only that, we miss the playoffs. Mike Ursery, 86 and 76 NL wildcard team. Armando Duenas, I don't know, 89 and 73. You get the golden sombrero. He predicts the most wins out of everybody here. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for that, but still, no 90 wins.
I believe no teams are going to have over 100 wins this season. No predictor gives any team to get to 100.
I've seen a few for the Dodgers now from the meatheads, but like I said, I've been trying not to look at any of this stuff before we give our predictions, which are coming up next. I want to remind everybody.
Okay.
All right. Well, I got a couple more to get here through. Greg Hoadley says 85 and 77, and that we make the NL wild card. Al Scott says 88 and 74, NL wild card team, and he also says Luis Arraez will win his 4th straight batting title. So I like the sounds of that. But Lauren Casuto gets the I don't know what you want to call it. The wah, wah, wah award. She gets my least liked award here this morning with a 75 and 87 prediction. 12 games under 500 and no playoffs. What are you, a Dodger fan over there in disguise? What don't I know, Lauren? How are you defending this, knowing that Mike Shildt has never missed the playoffs as a head coach?
I don't think they did their research.
I don't think they did either. And I think a lot of them, like I said, are just basing a lot of their decisions emotionally off of the Dodgers offseason alone. And the fact that we didn't get Roki Sasaki and they did. And it's okay, guys. I forgive you, but I just want you to hear this when I call you out on it and start to have a little faith again. Believe in this team. They are well managed beyond your wildest dreams, literally. As someone that's played baseball since I was 2, I can tell you, Mike Shildt, his whole philosophy about taking what the game gives you is spot on for how to win games in the major leagues. And that's all I got to say about that, Nika.
All right.
All right. Well, without further ado, it is time for our predictions, everybody. And guess what? I made a brand new predictions intro just for this episode.
You should never underestimate the predictability of stupidity.
You are the future.
Because I'm a bit of a psychic myself.
The future looks good.
It turns out you're a hard man to predict.
Just the future.
Welcome to the predictions segment. And in the future, we will use this segment to call out other people's predictions that we think are just ludicrous. But today, we're going to use it to give our ludicrous predictions, everybody. I'm kidding. I'm tongue-in-cheek because all predictions are ludicrous, and none of this stuff is going to come true, probably. And none of the stuff you see from MLB Network or USA Today or any establishment, ESPN, whatever, there's going to be some misfires, some big-time misfires. You know, I read Mel Kiper Jr., NFL draft, I know, different topic, has like a 25% predictive rate for his first round draft picks since like 2003.
25%?
25% accuracy rating. So he's not even right barely a quarter of the time.
Wow. That's how all the models work, whether that's football, baseball, or climate change.
And political leanings, am I right?
Oh, my God.
All right. Well, the predictive model here was my heart. So I went with my gut on all of these. And Nika and I are going to give our predictions. We don't really know who each other went with here. We were talking about it a little bit if either one of us needed some clarification or help. But we are going to give our predictions for first, we're going to do the standings because I don't want to give the players first for the individual awards in case it gives away some of the standings. But we are going to have the NL standings, the AL standings, the NLCS, the ALCS, and the World Series matchup and champion.
Okay.
And then we're going to give the NL MVP, the AL MVP, the NL Cy Young, the AL Cy Young, and NL Rookie of the Year and AL Rookie of the Year. Everybody.
Okay. It's gonna be on tape forever, so you can't change your mind.
Indeed. Well, what do you want to start with? Do you want to do the NL division winners or AL division winners first?
Let's go with alphabetical order. We'll just go AL division.
Okay,
first.
we're gonna start with the American League, everybody, and our American League division winners: East, Central, and West. Nika, go.
All right, for my NL East winner.
AL.
AL, sorry. AL East. I got Red Sox.
I got Red Sox.
All right. So we are on the same page. All right.
We are on the same page. So AL East, we both chose the Red Sox to win the division. Okay. Next, we got the Central. American League Central.
Yes, I got the Tigers.
I got the Royals.
All right. Well, we differ on that one. Okay.
No worries. All right. AL West.
Rangers.
Mariners.
Okay.
Like I said, I went with my gut, and I guess I still feel like they have the greatest pitching in that division, and I believe in Edgar Martinez as a hitting coach way more than whatever they had last year.
Okay, fair enough. That's a fair comparison. All right.
And who knows? Maybe they get rid of somebody in that pitching staff for a bat at some point because
they might.
They might. All right, so 3 wild card teams. Who do you got in the AL?
Oh, we go to wild card. I got the Yankees. I got the Royals and the Blue Jays.
All right. So my wild card teams are, I have the Blue Jays, and we have the Royals and the Tigers flipped, I think.
Yes.
Because I have the Tigers being a wild card team.
Okay.
And the difference we have is the Yankees. I have the Yankees and... surprise, surprise, the Orioles both barely missing the playoffs.
So who do you have in?
The Astros.
Oh. I forgot.
I feel like they
Astros.
just are going to continue to find a way.
I kind of forgot about them because they are, you know what? They are so like in the West that I keep forgetting this is the East.
Yeah, they are oddly placed. You know, if they ever realign the baseball divisions, they got to fix the whole Rangers, Astros being in the same division as the Athletics and the Mariners by like default. I get like the NBA Western Conference is everything west of the Mississippi River, but there's a lot of teams in between there. Utah, Denver, like
there's a lot of territories over here.
There's like a big gap between Texas and the West Coast of teams missing here. Yeah. And I feel like that is something that I hope is able to happen with some kind of baseball realignment, because to me, Texas should be with like Kansas City and St. Louis or in those areas. And, you know, it just don't happen right now.
All right. Can we get back to predictions?
We absolutely can. I have the Astros and you have the Yankees. I have the Orioles and the Yankees kind of maybe even beating each other out of it. You know, I don't know. Sometimes that happens.
Orioles missing the playoffs.
You do?
Yeah.
I don't think they have. I see a lot of people predicting the Orioles to go to the World Series. And I haven't seen a lot of predictions, but the ones I have them going deep, and I think they're going to miss the playoffs. I feel like they didn't do enough right now to shore up their pitching staff. So that's my opinion. We'll wait and see.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you want to turn our attentions to the NL, and we have the division winners first with the East. Who do you got?
I got the Mets.
You got the Mets. I took the Phillies to win the division.
Yeah, I was debating whether Phillies or the Mets. I went with the Mets.
All right. Well, we'll wait and see what the wild card looks like before we talk about anything else with the NL East. But for now, NL Central.
I got the Cubs.
You took the Cubs.
They're singing, go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go!
I took the Pirates.
Okay.
I took the Sea Rats.
Pirate scum! Come on, you Sea Rats!
I am scared of the Skeens-led pitching staff coming out of spring training together, and just, you know, the Pirates made a couple of low rent moves, I guess, with Andrew Heaney and Jared Jones, who's another young pitcher that they have, is not going under the knife. They announced he was having his elbow looked at, and there was some concerns, you know, that he was going to be another Tommy John victim, but he's not. They actually had that news this morning. I saw.
So is he going to have a brace?
He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks.
But with the brace.
I don't know if he's putting a brace or anything. He's just going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. So
it's just an elbow strain or some ligament thing going on?
Exactly. Nothing that requires the blade of surgery yet.
Yeah.
Hey, so I'm going to go with the Pirates. I'm scared of the Pirates and some other things going on in the Central. All right, NL West, everybody.
I got the Dodgers.
I went with the Padres.
I probably should go with the Padres.
I had to go with faith, and I just feel like the great Dodgers experiment. We followed it all last year. We were not hoping for bad things to come of it per se, but I think we were just watching with a cautious eye on this whole thing, and that has not changed for me just because they won the World Series. I saw a team last year that was on the brink of elimination due to the Padres' threat, and I saw a Padres team beat themselves, not let the Dodgers beat them per se.
Yeah. I hope you're right.
So I want to point those things out. I also want to remind people about the 1989 Chicago Bulls, who got their asses beat by the Detroit Pistons, and then also again in 1990s playoffs, got their asses beat by the Detroit Pistons. And for any of you Dodger fans out there that might be listening to this that are laughing at me with a wave of arrogance right now, I want to tell you and remind you that Michael Jordan, he ended Isaiah Thomas's career effectively after that. He made him walk off the court. And oh, by the way, he wasn't on the dream team anyway after that either because, and I think the Padres have a player on their roster that this all hinges on, and I'm not afraid to admit that I'm a believer in Fernando. And I hope that we get to see him have an amazing prime and come into his own and have people going like, Shohei who?
It could happen. And then you put Jackson Merrill next to him, Manny as a
veteran
leader.
Yep.
Absolutely. It could happen.
I think not only is this team capable of continuing to get back to the playoffs year after year, like they need to build that into their organizational philosophy. I think that's why Mike Schill is the greatest guy for this job.
Okay.
However, I want to say this is not going to be easy. All right, but we got wildcard teams. So who do you have as your 3 NL wildcard teams? Because you have Cubs. We just had a big semi-truck honk its horn outside. Okay, you have, just to remind everybody, Mets, Cubs, and Dodgers winning their divisions. And I have Phillies, Pirates, and Padres. So we had quite a bit of a different list here.
Wow, you went with all the P's.
I guess so. P's are wild for my NL teams, everybody.
All right, for the wild card in NL, I got the Padres.
So we have that one flipped.
I got Diamondbacks, and I have the Pirates.
All right. Well, so the one area where I think we differ, I have the Mets, which you have the Mets winning the division. I have the Dodgers. You have the Dodgers winning the division, but you also have the Padres in the wild card. So we share those teams. Mm-hmm. And I also have the Diamondbacks. So we share those two teams. So I think the only one we differ on is the Phillies. Am I wrong?
No, you could spot on.
So you have
I put the Phillies on the back burner because every time they get to the postseason, they can never finish. They ran out of stamina.
You know what's interesting is we both have the Braves missing the playoffs, and I feel like they're always in the conversation. But I wrote down that they're going to barely miss this year. I think not starting the year with Acuna and Spencer Strider is just it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, the Nationals have some young up and coming talent that is going to continue to get better, and they're well managed by Davey Martinez. A World Series ring. And you just don't know when they're going to break out of their shell kind of as a team or go on like a 6 or 7 game winning streak at some point and really get confident. That's when you really need to get scared if you're the NL East, I think. The Nationals are no one thinks that they're there yet right now to win, but they are definitely going to ruin some people's nights. That's for sure. I also have the Cubs just missing the playoffs, and I think it's an indictment on Jed Hoyer. I think this Cam Smith trade is going to come back and haunt them, and I do have the Astros making the playoffs primarily because of Cam Smith and having a good rookie season. But it's early, and that's just me probably playing a little bit off the gut reactions of everything happening in the game right now. But, whenever a young guy gets called up like Cam Smith or Jackson Merrill, I want them to succeed. I want there to be balance of this young and veteran talent in the game. I think it's good for the game, and it's always a good reminder to be like, there's always somebody waiting to take your spot. All right, Bo, we got some awards, and then that's it. You ready, Nika?
Sure.
All right. Well, let's start with the NL Rookie of the Year, everybody. Who do you have winning Oh, sorry, AL. We got to go in alphabetical order.
So we're going with the rookie, AL rookie?
Yeah, we'll do Rookie of the Year, then we'll do Cy Young, and then we'll do MVP.
All right. Well, my rookie of the year is Cam Smith from the Astros.
Me too. That's kind of partly why I picked the Astros to make the playoffs, is because I think he's going to give them that missing spark that they lost from Kyle Tucker.
Okay.
And I know they lost Alex Bregman too, but I kind of want to remind people that they got Isaac Paredes in that Cubs trade, so they literally like got 2 positions filled out of 1 trade from the Cubs, and they got a pitcher from the Cubs as well named Wesneski. So the Astros made out pretty good on that trade, and it might have saved their whole entire season. Okay, NL Cy Young. Oh, sorry, NL Rookie of the Year.
I went with Matt Shaw from the Cubs because I'm not familiar with all the prospects in that league.
Yeah, this is kind of like by default, right? Mm-hmm. Like you chose him. I understand why you did that. I will admit I cheated a little bit. I went and found a little article that listed who the actual eligible National League rookies are, because I kind of couldn't remember. And I also, I was always eyeing up my choice beforehand. I wanted to confirm that he was still eligible, though, because he played in the majors last year already for 31 games.
Who was that?
Dylan Cruz, everybody. The number 2 pick from the 2023 or 2022 draft. And he was, I want to remind everyone, taken number 2 behind Paul Skeens, and they were teammates in college at LSU together. So
he's in Washington.
He is in Washington, and he is part of that young core I was just talking about. So I think he's going to win NL Rookie of the Year personally.
It's a good choice.
He looks like a baseball player to me. Just a little rough around the edges and not afraid to get dirty. Okay. So stay healthy, kid, and have a great rookie season.
Okay, so we're going to go to MVP or Cy Young you want to go?
We'll do Cy Young.
Okay.
And we'll start with the AL.
I got Scubal winning.
I got Scooble too. I think he repeats. Scooby-Doo, as they call him over there.
Scooby-Doo. And for NL, I got Skeens.
I got Skeens. I got the Pirates riding Skeens all the way to division win, you know? I know you got him going to the playoffs. So it's all going to start with Skeens. I just think he makes it look so effortless, and I am really excited to watch him pitch this year. I'm not going to lie, as a fan of baseball.
Yeah.
You know,
it'll be very interesting to see how he does.
I really want him to just break the MO of the starting pitcher and what they're capable of in the modern game, and, you know, kind of set a new standard again. I like to be the next Roger Clemens, Kurt Schilling, inning eater, big horse. You know, no one's going to tell you to take me out of the game. I'll take myself out when I'm ready. Not that you are the boss, but you want that mentality in a player sometimes, and I think Skeens has that. So, yes.
Okay.
All right, well, moving on. We have the AL MVP, everybody. This might be interesting. I'm curious who you went with here, Nika.
I went with Bobby Witt Jr.
You went with Bobby Witt Jr. Nice choice. I have him as my runner-up.
Oh, who's the first
I put him as a runner-up, Vlad Jr.
Oh.
I feel like he's going to play for that contract and win. We saw this guy go on a tear last summer, and especially when he got his haircut, right?
Yeah, he did.
Well, he did not get the extension he wanted from the Blue Jays, despite being pretty close. And yet, there is 12 hours. If there's breaking news, we might even have to do another episode tomorrow just to talk about this. But just kidding. We will leave it at that. I think Vlad Jr. is going to go off and become more valuable this year. I think that's what his mind is made up on. Like, okay, I gave you the opportunity to make me a very rich man, but since you refused, I'm going to make myself even richer.
He did leave the door open for the Blue Jays to come back.
But that's closing in 12 hours.
Oh, I know. But they still can come back before the All-Star, I guess.
I thought it was before the season.
Oh, okay. Maybe
I thought like that was like when there was still like 3 weeks to go in spring training. And now the fact that they haven't gotten it done and we're 12 hours away from the season starting or whatever.
I get it. I'm with you. He has a chip on his shoulder this season. Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like sometimes when guys are put in this situation, it goes one of two ways. It can go good or bad.
We saw what happens.
What's that?
We saw what happens when players play for their contracts.
Well, and you saw what happened when Soto did it last year, and he made himself all the richer.
Aaron Judge is another good example.
Aaron Judge. he turned down the offer from the Yankees only to make them pay more for him.
Yep. So we see what happens this season with Vlad.
We will see. All right. Well, this one is probably going to be the most interesting conversation because NL MVP is tricky these days because of Shohei Ohtani. And we heard Harold Reynolds. I don't know if we listened to it on this podcast or not, but I saw a clip of him that I'll remind everyone of where he basically kind of says is if Shohei hits 40 home runs and pitches 10 games, that he's going to win MVP. And it's hard to find an argument against that, right? But nevertheless, I think that it's possible that Shohei does not hit 40 home runs this year. And I think he does make 10 starts, though. I will say that as a predictive model. But I wanted to leave a little wiggle room here because I wanted to offer up some potential alternate. Like, if Shohei didn't exist, who might the NL MVP look like? And could either of these players potentially challenge Ohtani just mano a mano, all things being even in a season? Like, what would it take for them to overtake him in an MVP? Nika, what did you write down for the NL MVP?
Well, I put Fernando, if that's the criteria, that if Ohtani didn't exist, I put Fernando Tatis Jr. as an MVP because I know the man is capable of accomplishing that.
It is. We haven't seen him put together a 160-game season. That's kind of been the one missing thing where he does it 90% of the time, you know? I put Fernando Tatis Jr. down as well. I think it's easy to, critique these guys and be like, oh, he's not the same since he had the injuries and the suspension. And, he's also about to become a man, when it comes to how your stats hold up over time. This is when you're in your prime of your MLB career, 26, 27 years old. Statistically, that's when you break out. Look at Ohtani. Look at how old he is when he started to come into his own as a home run hitter. He wasn't 24. He was 29, 30.
Yeah.
So I just want to point that out. And so now we have a guy who's made adjustments in the offseason to his swing, hasn't necessarily had the best success in spring training, but he's working on stuff. I think the shackles are coming off on Thursday, and we are going to get a better look at what's been worked on.
Okay.
I agree with you. I also put another name on the list.
Who's that?
Ellie De La Cruz.
I have a hard time putting him as an MVP.
I get it.
I like him as a player. I just don't. I want to see him stop striking out the way he was, and that would be the key.
We'll wait and see what the work that Terry Francona has done with him to shorten his swing, if that pays off over the course of a full season. And the Reds could be the one sleeper team that we didn't talk about in any of our predictions so far to also make the playoffs, I think, out of any team in baseball.
Funny you say that because I scratched them off. I had them Cubs and Reds.
It's tough. There's so much competition, I feel like, in the NL right now, and it's tough. But they could be a sleeper team, and Ellie De La Cruz could be the deciding factor in whether or not you don't want to put it on one guy's shoulders, because we were talking about earlier that with the Padres, it's going to take a total team effort. But with that total team effort, you need your stars to play like stars for 90% of the season, like I just said. And so if that happens for the Reds with Ellie De La Cruz, then it's potentially possible that they could sneak into the playoffs as well. All right, well, before we get out of here, Nika, NLCS, ALCS, World Series, what did you decide on? Let's start with the ALCS. Who do you got playing for the American League pennant this year?
I hate this prediction.
Okay, but who did you take?
Rangers.
You took the Rangers winning the pennant.
Oh, no, not winning the pennant. I'm sorry. Oh, to win the pennant?
Oh, who's playing? The Rangers are going to make it to the AL championship, and they're going to play who?
The Red Sox?
It's not a bad prediction. I went in a similar direction, but not. I took Blue Jays, Red Sox.
Oh, Blue Jays. Okay.
I don't know how that's going to work out with the brackets because, I think a lot of times we see in the divisional series, the division opponents play each other. The Dodgers Diamondbacks come to mind. The Padres Dodgers last year come to mind. I hope it works out in a way where the division rivals, like we saw Red Sox Yankees play in the ALCS before, so we know it's possible. I would love to see two division rivals like this meet in the playoffs, and I think it's going to be the Red Sox and the Blue Jays.
Okay. It could happen.
All right. So that's who I got. Who do you got? And I'm going to take the Red Sox over the Blue Jays. So
Yeah,
you're taking the Red Sox as well over the Rangers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I
nice.
have Red Sox winning. And then the other one, I do have a repeat of last year, Padres-Dodgers.
I have that as my NLCS too.
So, and I hope it goes the other way around than it did last year.
Yep, I have the Padres winning the NLCS against the Dodgers.
And then
I have them doing it at home because I picked the Padres to magically somehow squeak out a division like a division lead at the end of the year so that they're the home seed in this series.
And then you get at the end Red Sox Padres.
And then I'm going to take the Padres to win in the World Series over the Red Sox. We have the same World Series. That's crazy. We did not plan this, everybody. Even though we have a little bit of a different route of getting there.
I was debating about the Dodgers, but I don't want to put the Dodgers.
I know, I don't either.
So.
I just want to dare to be different.
Exactly.
No, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people don't want it to be the Dodgers, so it's probably going to be, right? But we want the Padres to get there and overcome their demons.
Sure, but I also think the Padres have learned valuable lessons from last season. You got to stick with your brand of baseball and carry that on through the postseason. Not try to emulate some other team that you are not.
Well said, Nika. Well said. That's a great way to motivate this team. Because, one of the hardest parts, I think, about being in the Padres' shoes is getting back to where you were and getting so close and then have everyone tell you in the offseason, oh, if you just would have beaten the Dodgers, you could have beaten everyone else and won it. Like, there's no guarantees of that. Like, you want to think that, yes, but at the same time, you don't want to think about it at all because it didn't happen. It's a great, fresh start, and hopefully, throughout the course of this season, they can overcome these demons. The core of this team is still intact. So that's all I think we're hoping for. And I think our predictions kind of speak that.
They definitely do. And we have, less than 24 hours before the season starts.
Indeed. It's going to be underway 24 hours from now for most teams. 22 hours from right now.
So make sure you save your little page. I'm going to save mine.
I'm going to take a picture of it. Just to remind you all, MLB Network will be showing like all of their prediction shows on TV tonight. So if you want to go see what the establishment knuckleheads have to say, I'm going to be tuning in just so I can bring you guys some new segments on Friday. But what we need from you all is for you to like and share this episode with all of your friends and baseball fans out there because it really helps us out. We love doing this show and we love holding the mainstream baseball media accountable for their opinions. In case you are new to the Kanika Sports Show, that's what we do here, and that's what we will continue to do here with your support. So we appreciate it. Just share and like. We're on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and
Rumble.
Thank you. Rumble and YouTube, everybody. We try to get it out there as much as we can. This isn't our only job and way of means in life yet, but we would love for that to happen. So enjoy the season, everybody.